So we're on Proverbs 23, but next week we'll be on Proverbs 24, but instead of just doing the recap for 23, I'll probably just take the highlights from 22 and 23 since we're skipping it this week and go over the highlights or recap of Proverbs 22, 23, and then we'll move on to 24. But due to circumstances, I'm going to have to start at Proverbs 23 and move through it kind of quick. So, quick without missing any of the good parts. So Proverbs 23. When thou sittest to eat with the ruler, consider diligently what is before thee, and put a knife to thy throat, if thou be a man given to appetite. Be not desirous of his dainties, for they are deceitful meat. Labor not to be rich, and cease from thine own wisdom. So, a lot of times if you go out or somebody rich invites you to their house, you want to impress them. You want to do all that, right? But back in the day, if you ate at a king's feast, you're invited to it, and then you gorged yourself and just became one of the boys, you now are kind of indebted to that king. And so he's like, remember I took you in for my feast, now I need you to do this. So what it's saying here, it says, put a knife to thy throat. Don't pig out on his meat. Don't take everything that this king is giving you just because he's giving it to you. And be very careful, because then you might end up in debts of owing him, or you might be seen as one of them, one of the king and his bad men, or something like that. And it's just saying, don't worry about it and labor not to be rich, because it's not always what you think and what your understanding is. Don't really have party or be associated with these types of people just because they are rich. Wilt thou set thine eyes upon that which is not? For riches certainly make themselves wings. They fly away as an eagle towards heaven. Easy come, easy go. You ever heard that about money? The more easy you get it, the more it's gone. So even treasures, even super rich people, like, I don't know, who's your favorite rich person? Who likes Bill Gates? Nobody good. Who likes Elon Musk? Iffy about him? Okay, I get it. What about Jeff Bezos? All those guys. Yeah, not really a fan of him either. Well, with these guys, sure, they get billions and billions of dollars, but it's not like they open their bank account and they got billions of dollars to just do whatever they want in there. It takes a lot of money to run companies like Amazon and Tesla, SpaceX, and all that. So just because they have that money, most of that goes right back into the business to grow and get bigger. And this is kind of what he's saying here. You're going to work to get all these riches, but what you don't understand is the more money, more problems, so to speak. The more money you have to keep up all these things, the more stress you're going to have in keeping them all up. So the treasures, they just keep flying out the window like an eagle towards heaven. Eat thou not the bread of him that hath an evil eye. That goes right along with the first part, and that's what leads to believe why you should put a knife to your throat and not eat that. Neither desire thou his dainty meats. For as he thinketh in his heart, so is he. Eat and drink, saith he to thee, but his heart is not with thee. So think about big fancy like balls and dinners and stuff like that. So think about when they throw these political dinners for everybody to come in, everybody shakes hands like, oh, we're eating with the governor. I'll bet the governor does not remember who you even are or doesn't know who you are right after it's done. It's not really what it's about. You're not really rubbing shoulders with these kinds of people. They're just bringing you there so you leave and say you ate with the governor, tell people to go vote for him and all that, and do whatever he says, even though he doesn't care about you, doesn't think about you at all, has nothing to do with you. You're just being used in sort of a sense. So that's what it's saying here. His heart is not with thee, but he'll tell you to eat and drink and have a good time with all of that. Careful who your friends are is what it's saying. Know who your friends are. The morsel which thou hast eaten shalt thou vomit up and lose thy sweet words. So let's say you did go eat with Mr. Bezos or whatever, and then you're like, oh yeah, I ate with Jeff Bezos, he's cool, and he wants me to do this, or like, we talked about this for a little bit. And now you go into a meeting of Amazon employees, and you're like, yeah, I ate with Jeff Bezos. They're going to be like, oh wow. Did he tell you that we're not allowed to take bathroom breaks? Did he tell you that, he's cutting all of our wages? Did he tell you that he's pretty much doing legalized slave labor, blah, blah, blah? So you lost your sweet words. Now anything you say to anybody, you took part with the bad people, and now the good people aren't going to listen to you. Or you took part with one side, so now you've eliminated yourself from the other side. You will vomit up what you ate, and you will lose thy sweet words. Speak not in the ears of a fool, for he will despise the words of thy wisdom. So don't worry about it after that. You've already lost your ear. Remove not the old landmark, and enter not into the fields of the fatherless. What do you think it means by fields of the fatherless? Fields of the fatherless. So, even in Egypt, when I think Jacob called in his family and they all died, they buried him in the tomb of Abraham. They knew which fields were his and which ones wasn't, even from way back in history and all that. Fields of the fatherless might be just people that don't really have the history recorded as much as these people, like from all the way from Solomon back to these places. But for their Redeemer is mighty, he shall plead their cause with thee. You can also take this, and I'm torn a little bit. I really don't know which way this is talking about. It could just be talking about people who don't have a father. Like now they don't have a household to run all these fields. It's just the mom left with the kids and all that. So it's ripe for the taking, you know, like, oh, this field doesn't have an owner or a father or a man figure anymore. Let's go in, tear down his statues, remove all his tombs, and put ours up there because it's ripe for the taking. This might also be saying, don't do this. But that could easily happen also in fields of the fatherless where you're not of the Israeli descent that all of them are coming from. For their Redeemer is mighty, and he shall plead their cause with thee. So God wouldn't like it if you went into that. It's kind of theft in a way when you look at it that way. And apply thine heart unto instruction, and thine ears to the words of knowledge. Here we go. Ezra. Withhold not correction from the child, for if thou beatest him with the rod, he shall not die. So you won't never die if you get beat up, Ezra. Thou shalt beat him with the rod, and shalt deliver his soul from hell. My son, if thine heart be wise, my heart shall rejoice. If thine heart be wise, my heart shall rejoice, even mine. Yea, my reins shall rejoice when thy lips speak right things. So why do you whip kids? What's the whole point of it when you spank your kid?
You don't like them.
Because you don't like them. That's a good answer. It's to kind of discipline them because you don't want them to go down the wrong paths. What you're seeing now is a trend of new kids that don't get spankings, don't get whipped and all that. And then you see their hair color change real fast. We'll leave it at that. So, he shall not die, deliver his soul from hell. There's a big thing coming out on don't spank your kids and all that. I wasn't completely destroyed as a kid, but I got my fair share of all of it. But what it's saying is, they do this so their kids act right. So then the father's heart is proud when later he grows up and he sees his son or his child doing righteous things or being righteous because of the upbringing he had. Let not thy heart envy sinners, but be thou in the fear of the Lord all the day long. For surely there is an end, and thine expectation shall not be cut off. Hear thou, my son, and be wise, and guide thine heart in thy way. So let not thine heart envy sinners. You see people having a really good time. You see people that don't get up and come to church on Sunday, and you're like, oh, wish I didn't have to get up and go to church on Sunday, and I could just take another day of the weekend. Does that ever cross your mind? It used to cross mine a lot. But be thou in the fear of the Lord all day long. You see these guys with all this money, power, attention, all these things, it kind of can spark a little bit of envy into people. But envy, and this was a really good painting, ancient painting, like I like a lot. This is envy, the face of envy. He's looking out, he doesn't have eyes, but the serpent's looking right back at him. You're staring at envy when you do that. What made Satan get cast out of heaven? He was envious of the power of God and what he given to the humans and all of that. So envy, the bad thing. Be not among winebibbers, among riotous eaters of flesh. For the drunkard and the glutton shall come to poverty, and drowsiness shall clothe a man with rags. Drowsiness shall clothe a man with rags. So what's a wine bibber? Everybody drank wine back then. Where's the point where a wine drinker becomes a wine bibber? I've had loads of discussions about this, and we can't ever come to the exact point. But I would say it is when kind of the wine starts being in control, if you know what I mean. I'm not saying that you're super drunk, but kind of when now you're drunk enough that you make decisions you wouldn't have before. When you finally get that spark in you, that uppityness, like, okay, let's go do this now because you're drunk and all of that. And riotous eaters of flesh. Remember the prodigal son blew all his money on riotous living, wine and meats and all of that. For the drunkard and the glutton shall come to poverty. Why are they going to come to poverty? Same thing as the prodigal son, because it's expensive and they get addicted to it and they just keep buying it and buying it and buying it. And drowsiness shall clothe a man with rags. Keep going. It's about to get into it. Hearken unto thy father that begat thee, and despise not thy mother when she is old. Buy the truth and sell it not. Also wisdom and instruction and understanding. They took a lot of their time out and their life changed completely to raise you guys. So when they get older and they start needing the attention, take the time out of your life and give it back to them, such as picking them up from the airport and stuff like that. But I don't miss church for nobody. Nobody.
Well, if why the government tells us not to go visit them for a year.
Well, then you're lost anyway. The father of the righteous shall greatly rejoice, and he that begatteth a wise child shall have joy of him. Thy father and thy mother shall be glad, and she that bare thee shall rejoice. My son, give me thine heart, and let thine eyes observe thy ways. It's good when you make your parents happy. Try to make your parents happy. One of the first commandments, honor thy father and mother, so thy days on earth shall be prolonged, because they're going to try to keep you alive for one thing, but also alive and righteous and happy, which is what's going to get you back the blessings to keep you going better. My son, give me thine heart, and let thine eyes observe my ways. For a whore is a deep ditch, and a strange woman is a narrow pit. She also lieth in wait as for a prey, and increaseth the transgressors among men. Some men who do nothing wrong still fall to the one superpower of women. So that's the one thing that can get almost any guy. Even in spies, think about spies. Women are way better at spying on men. They have loads more options that they can do. It's much easier to seduce a man than to make buddies with him, if you know what I mean. So they would send the women on all that. It's their superpower for it. And here's Solomon, and boy, he should know. He's kind of telling you to watch out for all of that. Every time he gives advice on this, I'm like, bro, I don't really know why you're giving me advice on this when you have that many concubines. So, but I guess he has the experience of that. But why would he compare it to a deep ditch? Deep ditch. It's hard to climb out. You can keep going straight. You can keep going further and further down it. But it's hard to get back out on the left and the right. And a strange woman is a narrow pit. Same thing. Very hard to get out of. Hard to move when you get down in there. So, she lieth in wait for a prey, and increaseth the transgressors among men. Who hath woe? Who hath sorrow? Who hath contentions? Who hath babbling? Who hath wounds without cause? Who hath redness of eyes? They that tarry long at the wine, and they that go to seek mixed wine. So mixed wine back then, like wine mingled with myrrh, kind of like a little add-on. They would kind of drug the wine back in those days to make you feel different or higher. They didn't have a bunch of different science to break down drugs into the crystallized forms that we see it mostly in today. So they would mix it with the wine. This is what it's saying. If you do that, if you tarry long with the wine and you seek the mixed wine and you're an addict of anything, you will have woe, you will have sorrow, you will have contentions, which is fights and disagreements with people. You will have babbling, talking out of your head, and you don't even know what you're saying. A lot of times that'll get you in trouble. Who hath wounds without a cause? How many people's ever woken up hurt and not remember how you got hurt? I have. I've done that before. Waking up like, why is my leg? I feel like it's broken. You don't remember jumping off the 3rd story and landing on that thing? No, I absolutely don't. But who hath that was just an example. I didn't really jump off anything. But Who hath redness of eyes? The dead giveaway. This is what it's saying. All those things are going to come from addiction and just from drugs in general. I know you're going to hear it a million times from everybody that drugs are bad, stay away from them, stay away from them. But there's a reason that everybody does that. Used to, I was like, you're going to have to figure that reason out for your own, but it is better to just not figure out that reason on your own. To not touch the fire, to get burnt, to see that it's hot. Because even the Bible, way over 2,000 years old when this was written, is kind of telling you for that. Look not thou upon the wine when it is red, when it giveth his color in the cup, when it moveth itself aright. At the last it biteth like a serpent, and stingeth like an adder. And these people just put serpents and adders in wine to kind of double up on that one. Crazy Asian wines, but yeah, so look not upon the wine when it is red, when it giveth his color in the cup, it moveth itself aright. At the last it biteth like a serpent. So it's going to look pretty when it's in the cup. It's going to look good. It's going to move. It's not like water. I don't know if there's any, what do they call those people, psalms in here or anything. But wine moves different when it's ready to drink and when it's better. And it makes the legs that run down the cup and all that. Maybe that's what it's talking about here. I'm not 100% sure. But just don't look at it and be enticed. Don't look at this picture and be like, oh, yes, wine. Because at the last it biteth like a serpent and stingeth like an adder. Thine eyes shall behold strange women, and thine heart shall utter perverse things. Yea, thou shalt be as he that lieth down in the midst of the sea, or as he that lieth upon the top of a mast. They have okay, I'm going to stop before we go on. Thou shalt be as one that lieth in the midst of the sea. What is that? What do you think that is? Lieth in the midst of the sea. How many of you have ever been drunk and closed your eyes? It's all shaky and spinning and all that. It took me a minute for that one. I was like, what does he mean, lieth in the sea? Or is he that lieth upon the top of a mast? You're going to be swaying. You're not going to be able to walk right. You're going to be moving. They have stricken me, shalt thou say, and I was not sick. They have beaten me, and I felt it not. When shall I awake? I will seek it yet again. Boy, isn't that the truth. So, you're going to get hit when you're drunk and all that, and you're like, I don't even feel it. You're not going to feel the pain when you're under it. You're going to get sick and throw up, and you're going to wake up the next day with all this pain, all this sickness, and you're going to say, when I shall awake, I will seek it again. How many of you have ever said, this is the last time I'm drinking ever? Or I'm never drinking again.
Hopefully nobody in here, because they ain't done it to begin with.
Yeah, you better not have, but, the reality is a lot of us have. And how many of you drink the very next time it was offered to you, even after saying that? That's pretty much every weekend in the military and stuff. So, it's just crazy how it works. It's such a weird psychology. You get so sick and feel so bad. And you're like, why do people do this? This is dumb. I'm never doing this again. I'm going to start eating healthy. And you get all these ideas. And then immediately, you start feeling better. And somebody's like, hey, we're doing it again tonight. Come over. And you're like, okay, yeah, I'll be there. And it just starts all over again. That is the cycle of addiction. That is why it's powerful. And that is why even the Bible is like, you've got to watch out for this kind of stuff. This is going to trap you. And if you know you're trapped, that's half the battle. You know how to get out of it. But just knowing that you're like this, you're going to be pathetic like this dude. You're going to see strange women. Your heart's going to utter perverse things. Lie down in the midst of the sea or top of the mast. You're going to be swaying. You're going to have woe. You're going to have sorrow, contentions, babbling, with wounds without a cause, and redness of eyes, all because of your addiction. Don't do it. This is Proverbs 23. Any questions? Sorry, it was a little bit one of the fastest Sunday schools we've